Hello again, and welcome back to the Ygartua Art Chronicles podcast. We explore Paul Ygartua's life and work again in this episode, accompanying Paul and Joanne through Israel. We pick up where we left off in the previous episode, talking about a chance meeting with a diamond dealer.
Oh, and
So
then you met the Jewish man.
And then I met the Jewish guy, the diamond.
Kid.
I met a young kid from Israel.
He sold
First, he sold a few of my little paintings for me, and then he came and stayed at our place for a week. And then about a week after that, I bump into this diamond merchant who ends up buying quite a few paintings off me, and he bought the main big face, the one I just did, just before that. Right?
This was the painting that you'd left at the end of the bed.
That's right.
Right.
So he was fascinated with that, and then he bought a few more paintings.
He used to come every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
He said to us, we knew nothing about diamonds, and he said, okay, well, I don't know, but he said anyways, Antwerp and Tel Aviv are the main centers for diamonds, right?
Okay.
And he loved Cannes, or he had a place there, and he came every 2 weeks, and then he'd come to our apartment and see what we had. And yeah, he was a patron, and he bought every time.
Mm-hmm.
He had those prices.
So he
were
says
good as well.
we'd already planned on maybe going to the south of Spain
to
paint the flamenco gypsies and dancers and everything.
Okay.
And that was on our plan. But as soon as I met him, he says, well,
he said every great artist like you, Paul,
every artist
must go to Jerusalem.
Must go to Jerusalem.
Sounded nice.
And I thought, okay.
He was born there.
So I thought, how were we going to get there? We got a car, we could drive.
The next day I go to the travel agent, like, how do we get there? So they said, okay, drive to...
Ancona, get a boat from Ancona to Haifa with the car. Mm-hmm. We didn't take the caravan, though, just the car. Mm-hmm. And lands in Haifa.
Yeah, but we left October then. Like we didn't. Right. He talked to us about that, and then we didn't leave the next week. We had already planned, because we had that apartment rented for the 6 months. So you have to stay for that time period as well.
Wow! So a boat all the way to Tel Aviv.
All the way to Israel. Yeah, no, Haifa.
Haifa
in the northern part.
Oh yeah,
landed in Haifa.
And so that was quite a trip as well.
With any plans?
Well, first of all,
to get once you got there, or you were winging it this time?
Yes. No,
winging it.
We always.
Sorry, we did have a plan. Yeah, but it was to find a luxury resort again where I could sell paintings, of course.
Yeah, but beyond that,
nothing's done without. Well, no. I'll just tell you quickly that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we read. These tourist guides, of course, they exaggerate, and so we have to be in a resort because that's where we're going to meet people. All that stuff. So we go down to the end of Israel to Eilat. Oh, and it's an Arab resort, right?
On the Gulf.
Oh my gosh, it wasn't even like a resort. There was nothing there. So
we suddenly realised, what are we talking about? We should be. We come here and we don't live in Jerusalem.
Yeah, we say.
So that's when we suddenly realised what a stupid thing to come to a little resort somewhere else. Let's go to Jerusalem.
Why did you go to Eilat in the first place? Why did you go to Eilat in the first place?
A resort.
Because we thought it was going to be a touristy place where we could sell paintings and get an apartment there.
Because it's on the...
It was on the water.
It was advertised as being a big...
what was the name of the Gulf, the waters?
I don't know, but it was sort of the Arab
Gulf of
resort, medieval.
The Gulf of Aqaba.
Medieval town.
Maybe that was it.
It's the Gulf of Aqaba.
It's supposed to be quite famous, but there.
Yeah.
Maybe it was
Jordan
famous.
was on the other side.
Yeah, you got Jordan, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, right. I think.
Yep. So that's where we were planning on.
But the thing was, we did have, back to Cannes quickly, the young boy from Israel that Paul met on the promenade that stayed with us for 1 week. He worked on the kibbutz as they all do and all that. And it was interesting. And he said, hey, when you get to Jerusalem, assuming that nobody else would do anything.
Give us a call.
Yeah, give us a call. And we always think, we
don't usually bother anybody. But
so I'm thinking, though, that, he, of all people, is going to know anybody. And, oh, my gosh. He is like our biggest break. We phoned
him, and
he says,
he happens to know a doctor whose friend was a diplomat who has an
in
apartment
Paris at the time.
in Halamadhe, which is a beautiful luxury area just near the old city in Jerusalem.
Just by the Knesset.
By the Knesset, and wants to rent it. So, bingo.
Yeah, so lucky, I tell you.
So we met this doctor, who we eventually made friends with and went out with her every weekend to different parts of Israel. I was driving her around.
Yeah.
It was great.
And he came. I forgot his name.
He came, yeah.
He came on occasion.
That's right, he came with us on occasion. Yeah.
And then we met Abraham in the old city.
We sure got a lot of looks with an English car with English number plates in Israel. not too many British Ford Granadas with number plates.
Yeah, at that time, anyway.
GB, everyone was saying, what does GB mean? Oh, Great Britain. Great Britain.
And so, what was Jerusalem like?
Oh, unbelievable!
My gosh,
really?
We went there 3 times a week, at least 3 times
to the
a
old
week,
city.
To the old city. We took a different route each time to make sure we covered the whole place, and we still didn't in the end. But we went so many different directions, all the different places where Jesus is supposed to have been and walked, and it was quite fascinating with all the different monuments.
Well, you first
and sites
enter
the Western Wall and the temples.
You have the medieval arches that you have to go through, and that takes you into the shopping area.
Yeah, you can't drive in the city. You have to park and go in.
Yeah.
So we just basically walked everywhere.
But the very first thing, you're sort of directed in because of how they shaped it.
That's
right. After the gates there. So you do get to go past, all the spice, the vegetables, all the souvenirs.
Like a souk type thing? Or,
Yeah. But there's so many different segments to it. All these different groups, these religions, they've got different areas, So you're dealing with the Jewish area, the Arab
representing
section,
all the religions.
All the different sections. Christians are in there. There's everything you can imagine.
I mean, there's always, there were problems. And, at that time, sure, a bomb on a bus is possible. We never took the bus, but we did have Canadians just below us.
Just below us in an apartment.
They'd been there 3 years. They had 2 little kids, and they had to go on the school bus. So they
were worried about the danger all the time. So they decided to come back to Canada.
But even the little park, which was, because it was 12 years after the 6-Day War, I think.
The park that we used to go to every day for a walk was full of tanks. And these tanks were just parts of the park. I mean, it was like a tank park.
From
and
the last war,
kids were climbing over the barrels of the tanks and the guns, and you could get inside and look at all the stuff. Yeah. I don't have a photograph now, but I know I took one of Tala with her head poking out the barrel of this tank.
Whoa.
I don't know how that would
I
be
pushed
possible.
it. Yeah, she fitted right into the end of this.
I doubt it.
And I took a photograph.
I don't think so.
I did, Joanne, but obviously those photographs disappeared or didn't turn out.
Imagine things.
No, I'm not imagining it.
I can hardly imagine me allowing.
As if we're not going to take a photograph of Tala on a tank.
True.
We took her on a camel. We're going to take her on a tank.
Yes, on the top, but not shove her, not squeeze her down the center.
You have to squeeze. It was a massive, big entrance at the end of the barrel.
She'd be a little frightened, I think.
No, she wasn't frightened of anything. Are you kidding?
Did the diamond dealer, was he right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he was right. We ended up with a gallery for a short while. They bought a few paintings off me, but there wasn't that many galleries in Jerusalem. Maybe Tel Aviv would have been better for galleries.
Yeah, probably
Jerusalem
would. Yeah.
is more the ancient historical place. You know what I mean? So there wasn't the.
Do you think he meant it more as a sort of more as a spiritual place an experiential place to be once in your life at least as an artist? Yes, that's probably.
I'm sure that was it. I mean, the subject matter was amazing.
No, that was the Wailing Wall. My gosh, the pathways that Jesus walked, and you're actually there walking those same pathways, and it's just. And
I mean, it was.
It's all the gear
we
as
felt
well.
safe everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere you went, even if you went in the supermarket,
everything's
there was
guarded.
guards, armed guards. They'd search your bags every time you went in.
We'd never been in such a guarded city or country, actually, in our lives. And in the old part they were present, but they were not checking anything. They were just,
they didn't do so much security there.
Yeah, security to be looking
but
the time.
Like any of the supermarkets where there's a lot of people going in, that was really heavily.
Yeah, well, you can't go anywhere. You can't enter a building without being searched.
Not if you have a bag.
Yeah, it's your bag. Not
Women's
physically.
bags were always searched.
Yeah, always. Which we were happy about.
But we found little shops that we liked that were selling Bedouin work.
Those guys,
and we wanted to buy some stuff to take back to the gallery in Canada. And so we would go into these
little
places,
tapestries.
and the guys would just love Tala. They'd pick her up and take her outside. She'd disappear. They'd take her out for a walk to show it to the neighbours. A white baby,
So.
Yeah.
And she was fascinated if they had their Arab gear, with all those wonderful headpieces.
I think the only time she ever cried was when we pierced her ears.
Yeah.
We wanted to have her ears pierced.
In Jerusalem?
Because we were going to the...
in Jerusalem.
Oh, really?
Because all the babies in Spain, all my cousins' babies,
they all had
their ears pierced.
At the hospital.
At the hospital.
We'll do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
sure, at birth,
Yeah.
So we decided to do it to Tala. And by then she was a few months old, obviously. Or 6 months old or more. 7 months. How old was she then? 8 months, maybe. When we had her ears pierced.
Right, nice.
Yeah, because, well, she was there 6 months. We were there... she was 4 months, and we left when she was 10 months.
That's right. Okay. So she was about 8 months.
And then Paul's parents also came for Christmas.
They came,
and of course, then
to Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Yeah, to Jerusalem.
And we did the real, tourist tour from one end to the other.
With them, we drove everywhere, all the way up to the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus was supposed to have walked on the water.
That's right. We noticed
and
it
the
was
waiter
pretty
even
shallow.
said, I said, well, where did he
pretty
walk on
shallow,
the water?
actually.
And you know what he said? He said, over there, he said, there's rocks underneath, like flat rocks underneath the water, a few inches down, and it looks like they're walking on the water. The fishermen used to leave their boats out. And I went,
puzzling.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
And he wasn't kidding me. He was telling me the truth. We went and saw these rocks.
I was going to say, did you do a tour? So you did a tour of Israel, the touristy tour.
Yes.
Yeah. All over,
What is it?
Places where you can't go now.
Well, Jericho, the oldest city in the world.
Oh, so Jericho, we went to Jericho.
And also you swam in the
Dead Sea.
Where it's
floated. You don't swim there.
You float. It's so much salt.
And Jericho was where I bumped into Eli Wallach.
Yeah, he was there.
The actor.
He's Jewish.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, you know him?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was Clint Eastwood, wasn't it?
No, that was
Eli
Clint Eastwood's
Wallach.
movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah. Also, the Hasidics with the outfits, their ringlets.
With the ringlets. And
and then you get... used to seeing them buying their flowers on the Friday for the Sabbath. And so we started to do that as well. It was a nice gesture. And Abraham, who we met, he was sort of a tour guide, not really. He actually
I bought my Christmas tree off him.
But he was around all the time, and he invited us to his tiny little apartment in the old city. And we do have a photo of Tala with his son.
That's right.
Holding her. And the funny thing is, I always remember him saying, "Well, I forgot half the history, but I just make up a lot of stuff."
Oh yeah. When he's talking to the tour guides.
Oh my gosh.
So you remember that
he's very
each time you go on a tour.
person.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So this trip into Jerusalem, this sort of felt a bit like destiny was driving you there and being being guided towards this experience, and then that became inspiration for an exhibition or a
subject for my next exhibition.
Well, this is it. Anytime that we're in a place that we're not selling, then I used to think of bringing back the show to the Bayshore again, where we had our wedding reception. So that was the next show that would be back in Vancouver.
I had about 60, 70 paintings.
Yeah.
We shipped a lot back, and I brought some back myself.
And then also, we were still in contact with the diamond dealer. And so he said, I want you to do, a portrait of my son in front of the Wailing Wall. He'd given us the photograph. And I think he even gave it to us when we were in Canada. He said, I'll be there on business.